What's up, everybody? Truth Tribe, and welcome to Christian Conservative, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. From faith and family to politics and culture, we tackle the hard truths and stand firm on biblical principles. Uh, of course, tonight joining me is Michelle Talkington. How are you doing tonight, Michelle?
Oh, I am well tonight. Hello, everyone. KJ, excited about tonight's topics as usual.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, we have a show in store for you. We had to go through what Candace Owens exposed today, just a couple of hours ago. It's been something we have been talking about for the last couple of weeks. We have been kind of talking about family and the whole thing going on in Hollywood with the celebrities like Justin Bieber, like the movies, Snow White. The list goes on. The agenda, the demonic agenda in Hollywood. And I mean, God is moving, like Candace Owens said today on her broadcast, because this is right in line with what we were talking about, what she exposed today, which we're going to bring to you. We're also, of course, going to run down all of the news, the latest news. CNN had a huge breakout on there amongst Scott Jennings and the leftist media pundits. We're talking about another school teacher sexually assaulting a child. We are talking about gender insanity and more. So we got a lot to touch on tonight. So let's dig right in. We already see the chat is there. Kung Fu CJ says, hello, ladies, and to God be the glory. Absolutely. To God be the glory to all of you guys. And, as we always say, we are going, the purpose of this channel is to expose the lies, defend our values, and fight for truth in a world that desperately needs it. Hit that like button while you're here. It really helps to amplify our voice. It helps us stay on YouTube to grow this channel. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please subscribe to stay informed, inspired, and empowered. All right, Truth Tribe, let's get going on this. So, Michelle, as I was mentioning, I want to open up with this bombshell show that Candace Owens had. Now, Candace has been kind of all over the place lately. She's been all over the place. But today's episode, always like at least stay for the first, couple of minutes of the show to see what she's talking about, because she's been all over the place. From Hollywood to Weinstein to politics. Sometimes I'm interested, sometimes I'm not. But today, the show was really right on. So I want to bring to you the part that she talked about with Justin Bieber. Okay, so let's get into this. All right. So take a look at this. She's talking about lately the media has been all over Justin Bieber. Now we talked about this, right, Michelle, a couple weeks ago. He had some interesting and sad episodes recently where it looked like he was under the influence of something. He's been kind of popping online with looking kind of, looks like he's struggling with something. And then the news has been all over him saying he and his wife, Hailey Bieber, are on the outs, all sorts of stuff. Well, today, Candace Owens got a tip, an insider tip of exactly what is going on with Justin Bieber. And all I'm going to say, folks, is we need to pray. We need to pray. Take a look here.
Amid split speculation. Here's another headline: how Selena Gomez really felt about Hailey Bieber's decade-long pursuit of Justin, according to insiders, as they make shocking claims about the model's tactics to snare the singer and say Selena was on to her game. Here's another headline: Justin Bieber reacts to wife Hailey hitting an event without him amid rumors of a marriage breakdown. Here's another headline: Hailey Bieber skips star-studded fashion trust awards red carpet despite her VIP invite amid rumors of strife with husband Justin. Now, what's going on there? Well, you're recognizing a theme. They are telling you that there's something wrong with this marriage. And obviously, they are being paid a hefty sum, or they have a very powerful person that is insisting upon this. And by the way, we just picked those 4 from Daily Mail. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's everywhere. And the headlines are just getting to a point where it's almost comical. I mean, there's a picture of them walking together at Disneyland, and he's not smiling because nobody just walks like this.
So she's talking about here how the headlines have been, again, really talking about Justin Bieber. They're trying to paint a narrative of turmoil within his marriage. I think they just had a baby. Yeah. He and Hailey Bieber recently married, maybe I think now for about 3 years, I think. But recently in the news media, they have been painting a picture, a narrative that their marriage is in real trouble. Why? Here we go.
And smiles as they walk. You had a conscience. This is always how stories come to me. It's somebody that's on the inside who has a conscience and feels guilty about what they are partaking in. And it's almost like, they don't have the sacrament of confession, but they feel like if they do something and they presented to me definitely concrete evidence of the fact that this family is going through a Black propaganda campaign. I am being told, unbelievably, that the PR firm that is engaging in this behind the scenes, and I'm going to say allegedly here, is Stephanie Jones PR. Cannot make this up. The one that is engaged in, I'll tell you a couple more facts what's going on with Justin Bieber. I'm told that Justin Bieber, just like Michael Jackson, is engaged in a war against musical executives, except the musical executives have gotten smarter over time. He wants out of Hollywood. He does not care about the money. He wants out. It is the same war which was fought by Michael Jackson. It is the same war which was fought by Ye. Okay. Remember Ye going on rants talking about these contracts, which he said were predatory contracts that artists could not get out of, contracts that artists signed when they were children, that they had no idea what these things meant. For example, they have no idea that if things go badly, they can't just go to the courts and resolve these issues publicly, because if the public can see what's going on in the courts and read the lawsuits, it changes things, right?
So I want to stop it right there. And when she started talking about this, it made me immediately think of, I think it was the last show where, Michelle, you talked about how people sign these contracts and it's sort of like signing over their souls. You were saying something like that in Hollywood. Do you remember that?
I do. Literally and figuratively. You sign away so many of your rights. They own so much of you in what you make, in your livelihood, and to the extent that they own you. And so it's easy to coerce you into doing anything. It's essentially a lot of, unfortunately, puppets. And there are puppet masters, and everybody knows, and Ice Cube and others have talked about it, and they call them the gatekeepers. And there are gatekeepers. You have to be very careful when you sign these contracts. And most, especially young people and whose parents are ignorant of the industry, they don't know that. And so getting out, and there have been a lot of celebrities that have tried to get out, and unfortunately, mysteriously or not so mysteriously, have passed away.
Right. Exactly. And she talks about that, it's particularly to what we were talking about, young kids, young people in Hollywood, like Justin Bieber, sign these contracts, or their parents sign them, and really don't understand exactly all that is involved with this, not only financially, but spiritually, what's going on behind the scenes with this stuff. She goes on. This is where she drops a lot of the bombshell. Here she is.
Right? Because we can read what Ryan and Blake and Justin Baldoni are saying, and we go, okay, well, there's a very clear winner in our imagination. I don't care how the press tries to spin it. Well, now these contracts are written so that these artists and these podcasters are forced to go into arbitration. And of course, if you're a child whose only person looking over your shoulder is your mother, who had you when you were 16 years old, and you see the word arbitration, you have no idea what that means, what the context of that is. It means that it's private. It means that you have to go meet, and there's one person that gets to decide your fate, and gets to determine, one judge that gets to determine who's right and who's wrong. first and foremost, if you are a person that knows more about what is going on behind the scenes, the person who came to me was very fearful of naming the executives that are involved. Similarly, they control every piece of Justin Bieber's life, allegedly. But I can tell you that from what I am understanding, if you are not praying for Justin Bieber, you should be. I personally have serious fears for both Justin and Hailey. We have seen how the story goes. They need to leave Los Angeles. They need to leave California, full stop. I think Kanye made the right decision, albeit a bit too late, albeit after Harley Pasternak sent him to the hospital the first time. But from everything that we've learned in our chaos book about how they control, and even through the Diddy lawsuit, the LA Sheriff's Office, the LAPD, the courtrooms, the judges, how they can create a media lie. That's why that book is so important, because it shows you how they can even completely lie about a murder, okay? A series of murders, as the Charles Manson murders were, because they control every tier of Los Angeles. Justin needs to get out. And Justin, if you are watching, I am begging you and Hailey to get up and to move your family somewhere outside of California and Los Angeles, which they completely control. And if you guys are watching this and you have inside knowledge of this, if somebody wants to pass me court documents, I will report on it. These satanic type contracts mean nothing, because God is the creator force, and, they can't contract talent. They actually can't contract talent. If the creator force lives within you, if you're a godly person, it is the biggest lesson of my last year and so is you can rebuild it, burn it to the ground, let them have everything, start from scratch, okay? All you need is yourself, and you've proven this over and over again, a microphone and maybe a guitar.
So what I wanted to really focus in on this, now she's talking about how the demonic forces within celebrity culture, within Hollywood, are at play here. I'm not sure if we missed it or not, but she also talked about how the one thing that they are really going against or trying to disconnect him from is his family. Mm-hmm. So his family, she's saying they want he and Hailey Bieber to break up because apparently she is the one that's grounding him, that's trying to keep him from, really going insane. And so I thought that was very important. And you tell me what you think, Michelle, because we see this demonic agenda within Hollywood, as she's saying, they're trying to go, break him up from his family. And we're also seeing it in everyday streets, everyday neighborhoods, where the education system, where leftist bureaucrats are trying to break up families. We see a cultural agenda now where family, they want to break it up. They want to take away parental rights. They want to, put this idea or get rid of the idea of mother, father, and, these non-binaries and all this type of stuff. We see a coordinated attack on family. And why? Because family is God's design. That's something from God. And they know that once you get rid of family, so goes the community, so goes the country. So what are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
Well, 100%. I'm looking at, I was trying to pull up the scripture, but we know it's for this reason, a man will leave his family, leave to your wife and starting that new family. So they need to break up that new family unit, which is the marriage. And we see it over and over and over again. If I were just, I would actually, I don't care what anybody thinks about Candace Owens on this issue, because we've brought it up now multiple times. I agree. Pack your stuff. I don't care where you go, Arkansas, Colorado, wherever you go, you should leave. And I mentioned that a lot of times that the victims felt they can't do anything because, they might have the one big guy who threw all the parties, but the rest of the predators are walking around. They are prowling. They are not just roaring lions. They are actually devouring these victims. They are actively attacking them. So you have to leave. You have to leave the entire environment. And we're not even talking about, this is like the situation with drugs or alcohol abuse. Sometimes you have to remove yourself from any and all access to the people giving you those things, right? You got to take yourself out of the circles. Don't go to the bars anymore. for Justin and for anybody that's in Hollywood and in these situations, yes, leave. Leave. And he's got the money to leave. And what she said that I know is that God gave him his talent. God gave you, me, all of us. He gave us the skills and the talent. So all it takes is one smooth stone. He doesn't have to start from zero. We know who he is. He can end and walk away from any of these contracts. And when he's ready to write a song, trust and believe, people will be ready to listen. So he's got even an advantage, but he needs to protect himself, protect his family, because that's a 7-month-old baby right now. He needs to protect them. And those, when I say predatory, she's right. And she knows that. And she, in her industry, she knows they will go after your life. There's several lines in the movies that say, I'm going to kill you and I'll make it look like an accident. Ladies and gentlemen, they do that. There are so many drugs on the market that can make a heart attack look like you just accidentally had a heart attack. I mean, there are things that happen to people in Hollywood that go out and have a tell-all book, and then they're gone the next day. They've written a memoir and they're gone. So this is serious as it can be. We've seen the videos. We see where he's at mentally. It's not a movie. Get out.
Absolutely. And like you said, I think a lot of times with these celebrities, what happens is they have accumulated so much wealth, so much fame via that one signing, whatever they have given, and I think it's something demonic. I think it's something soul. Yeah. They have contracted their soul. And so in order for this wealth, and they are very hesitant to give it up. So there's a lot of times where they've gone through this trauma, gone through these demonic forces and this demonic, agenda. And they say, you know what, I want to get out, but they don't want to give up whatever they gave, whatever they received in the very beginning. And so it's that whole, I was reading a scripture about this actually today, talking about, how in the Bible, the people built the Tower of Babel, and they were paying homage to other gods, and God told them, that's not the thing to do. Humble yourself, get rid of your ego, and so on and so forth. But they still continue to build this tower, and so it just makes me think you got to get rid of it. You got to give up something. You're going to have to you may lose your money. You may lose your fame, but it's worth it for your soul. And I think a lot of people in Hollywood are trying to get out, but they don't want to give up everything. And that's what they have to do. And a lot of times when we do that, even in our everyday lives, when sometimes God will make you, will send you through a trial, and you may feel like you are losing it all. But sometimes you have to do that in order to reach out to God. And and understand that he is the one that holds everything in his hands. And we have to humble ourselves.
I love what you said, but I think it's interesting. And we just really, as humans, especially as Christians, need to reflect on how much people and even ourselves are willing to give up for the gifts that Satan has, but not willing to put down for the blessings that God has.
Right. You're absolutely right.
That fear of giving up what Satan has elevated, and then waiting on the Lord and saying God will provide, because we serve the Redeemer, right? God, whatever you gave up, whatever contract, whatever dirty deeds have happened or you have done or participated in, God can't forgive. Christ is just, and he will forgive. You actually have to go to him. And there's even a fear to go to him. There's no sins that he won't, apart from denouncing him, turning away from God altogether and denying him. But Justin Bieber and so many other celebrities are not in that. It's just a fear. And I'm just saying that fear is a stronghold. So right now I pray against that stronghold that has him and has them. It's not just him. We know it's several celebrities, especially the child celebrities, the ones that this is the only thing they have known for a decade. And it happened during their childhood. So you talk about some deep-seated demonic activity. This has been from their childhood until now.
Right.
Oh,
You're absolutely right.
Crossroads. I'm writing down a movie. One of our chatters, our super chatters, put down. Look this movie up.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Kung Fu CJ, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says The Crossroads is a movie every new artist should watch. All right. We'll check it out. Thank you so much, folks. And for Kung Fu CJ and for all of you guys, we certainly appreciate you watching. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps to keep us on YouTube. Really helps to get our content out to other people. The more likes we get, the more people will see this. So please, we're a new channel and we really appreciate you hitting that like button, sharing this broadcast, and subscribing. Yes, indeed. So I just thought her show today was just so on time with what we have been talking about. And just, we have to remember that, this is temporary. This world is temporary. We can't take any of this with us to the kingdom, to heaven. And so, it's very enticing. It's very inviting. The devil gives, places a lot of things in front of you. And it feels like, oh, you can have this. All you have to do is this. And you're thinking, wow, you don't think in the long haul. You think this is not that bad. If I, sleep with this person, or if I give up my manhood, or if I allow my child to be sexually assaulted, they'll get over it. They'll do this. No, this stuff runs deep, and you are actually making a contract with Satan. You are making a contract with evil. And this is spiritual warfare that you are dealing with here. And in order to get out of it, you have to come back to nothing and let God build you back up. And it may not be earthly possessions. It may not be to the earthly wealth that you were under these evil regimes, living in sin and all this type of stuff. But let me tell you, your soul, your heart, your mind will feel much better. So we have to continue to pray for Justin Bieber, folks. We, again, are warring with spirits and principalities that I think a lot of people don't have an understanding of how significant and deep this is. So we got to continue reading our word and make sure people know about it. All right. So speaking of this type of stuff we're going on here and the lies of the enemy, we turn to CNN. Okay. So you guys know Scott Jennings, right? Scott Jennings is, what do you think of him? He's been on CNN now since the beginning of this year, and he seems to be right on time with many of the leftist pundits and Democrats to come on the channel. What do you think about him, Michelle?
That is a warrior. He's got skin to be in that den.
Yes.
But again, God created him for that position. And I'm always impressed by how quickly he can go on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's great at it. You gotta know your facts and be ready for it. And he knows what he's there for.
Yeah. I love him. Well, here he is on here. I believe this was last night, and he got into a heated exchange with Tiffany Cross. Mm-hmm. Now, for you guys who may not remember, she is the MSNBC pundit. She used to come on, I believe, either right before or right after Joy Reid. She was actually fired and I can't recall what she was fired for. I think she said something that was just so out of touch. Do you know what she was fired for, Michelle?
I don't remember, and they even brought it up yesterday. They talk about her losing that position. I'm gonna have to. Man, so many people got on the chopping block. Besides that, CNN's ratings were so bad they couldn't afford anybody anyways. I'm surprised they're still up and going.
I know. I did want to find out. I can't remember. She was fired. Okay, she was fired. Let's see here. The ratings were awful, but I believe she was fired for something she said that was just way out of bounds that she said on there. Oh, her comments. She was appearing on Comedy Central's show, and she said Florida literally looks like the DICK of the country. So let's get rid of it. That's what she said. So she said Florida literally looks like the DICK of the country. So let's get rid of Florida. So of course she was talking about DeSantis and how Florida, turned red. And she said that on another program, and they finally got rid of her. Okay, so here he is back to present day. CNN has her on now, not on a steady show. She doesn't have her own show, but she's a pundit on a roundtable panel with Scott Jennings and other people. Take a look at this exchange, is what she said here.
Land. You cannot just go and say, I like it. It's mine now. It doesn't work that way. Well, that is what they're trying to do. And in this new world order, yeah, absolutely. When they're looking at Greenland and say, I like it. I want to take it for mine. That is a very colonized.
I have never ever said we're going to go to Greenland and quote colonize it or steal it.
You're not a member of government, so you're irrelevant at that point. I'm talking about the president of the United States doing that.
You got fired from your job.
You
can
agitate.
Woo! Let's rewind it. Let's rewind it to make sure you guys heard what he said.
If you want to engage in personal insults about the president, you're not a member of government, so you're irrelevant at that point. I'm talking about the president of the United States doing that.
You got fired from your job.
You can agitate. If you want to engage in personal insults,
I don't, but you do.
What you lack in a legitimate point, you make up for in personal insults.
I don't.
Personal insults. The point I am making is in this new world order, we are looking at countries, whether or not they're an adversary or ally, it is being determined on what kind of deal we can get. And we cannot govern, we cannot legislate that way. We are increasingly isolated on the world stage.
No,
so if you want to engage in personal insults,
we're not
if I were you, I would reserve that for your party who is increasingly isolated. This blow our position outside of you.
So first off, I don't know. Is her voice annoying to you? It's just like she's loud, she's nasty, she's not pleasant at all. She's very smug, very condescending. She's annoying. And besides her politics, where she just lies, she doesn't know what she's talking about. We're going to get into that. But she's the loudest one on the panel. Why is that? Why do they always have to be so nasty?
It's like a gnat or a fly. Everyone's just flying around and buzzing. It's right there, and you just want to swat it over and over and over. You don't know why it just won't go away or stop until you get out. He got out the fly swatter. That's all. That's what he said.
Yeah,
and she's right. She does not know what she's talking about. I love that we're self-isolating. Are you kidding me? We're the biggest consumer. Do you know how much the world needs us, especially China? Anybody. That's why this tariff, what they call a war, is really not. It's us telling every other nation that, hey, we are the biggest, we are the baddest, we are the strongest. So let's make sure that we're treated that way and work things out. But the fact that she had the audacity to say, well, at this point, you're irrelevant.
Right.
And I know she tried to make it seem like she was talking about him not being a member of the legislation or senator. No, he's not irrelevant. And he's educated and he knows what he's talking about. So just those comments by themselves, that's why she did start it. She started the personal insults. And she doesn't like it when she gets it back. She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, she doesn't. And so, of course, people try to make this a racial thing because she's a Black woman and Scott Jennings is white, when it has nothing to do with this. I mean, she started out with the snarky comment first, and then he pretty much gave it back to her. But here she is again. And this is an actual example of just how uneducated, how ignorant she is on the facts, on the politics of what's going on now. She's talking about China. Take a look here.
trade, honestly, the trade is asymmetrical.
And who voted for Donald Trump?
Precisely. Trade is asymmetrical with China. We imported over 439 billion products from China. We exported over 140 billion from China. Their own foreign ministry has said, we will not flinch. We will not genuflect to a bullying government. I respectfully disagree.
Though, Tiffany, that we rely so much on an adversary to make most of our goods?
Listen, whether it bothers me or not is irrelevant. I'm dealing with reality. It is important, but this is what it is.
Why does it have to be the reality that we are dependent on so many things to come out of
Because
our biggest adversary in the world? They are the enemy, and we should not be dependent on
But
them.
no, they are not our enemy. They're our biggest trading partner. And if we
They've got rare earth minerals and you don't.
They're the enemy.
Right. But listen, but like it or not, sure, Michael, they are our biggest trading partner. And if we were to manufacture iPhones here, iPhones would cost $3,500. The American people are not going to tolerate that. We have one of the highest standards of working conditions here. I don't think that we can say, forget you, China. They
So it's
literally.
okay. So you're okay. Hold on, sure, Michael. So you're okay. You're okay if we continue to put our own economic and national security future in the hands of our biggest enemy, because effectively they use slave labor to build stuff, and that makes it better for us. That is terrible.
I am 100% not okay with that, but I'm dealing in the reality of what is.
Do you want to change it?
But we need to.
I absolutely want to change it. I don't know that changing it means isolating us on the global stage.
So what happens? So Tiffany, if I could ask, what happens if we ever have a military conflict with China and they say, you know what, we're going to put an embargo on anything shipping to the United States. We're going to stop everything. What happens then?
There we go. Okay. So, great exchange there. Great exchange. She was way out of her league. She was so out of her league. Michelle, what did you think about that exchange?
She's swimming in the kiddie pool and she thinks she's in the ocean. She is way, way out of her league. You are correct. And they are not, we may have a lot of major deals in trading. People don't realize that the Chinese government right now, they don't have a strong, robust economy. Right. If the people there decide, like right now, the leader is walking a tightrope. He tried us, and it'll be like, a little quote. He will be weighed, he will be measured, and he will be found wanting, because all we have to say is no. And I think it's great. I think this is a let's just cut it off. Start fresh. Trump is doing that. We voted for this, and we're seeing it. What's crazy is we're seeing it in real time. And just as they want us to panic, the markets were picking up again, and things are already starting to self-correct. And I have said this for maybe 10 years in my inner circles, and definitely in the last 4 to 5 years in the political arena, is that we have to stop being reliant on China or any foreign government for our basic medical necessities. Ibuprofen and the ingredients for acetaminophen, all of those things we should have access to here at home or closer to home. I don't know why we haven't done it. And I think it's because we never had leadership strong enough to say, I don't need your money. We have resources. In fact, we have amazing mineral resources that we don't talk about. Alaska, we are sitting on top of some of the greatest resources on earth. It just took strong leadership to tap into it. The same leadership that closed the border in a matter of months. It just takes that. And she has a weak argument because she has no knowledge on the subject. You can throw out numbers that you can pull up from anywhere, but she doesn't understand.
She surely doesn't. She surely doesn't. And this is why we are so fortunate to have President Trump as the president right now. First of all, nobody knows what he's going to do. He's very people don't know what his next move is. They cannot pinpoint what he's going to do. Just like what he did with the markets, he said he was going to raise tariffs on all of these countries. Started out at 100%. What was it? 75% on China. Now he's at 120%, and now he's paused the tariffs on the other countries. And we've seen, like you mentioned, a significant jump in our markets because of it. He knows exactly what he's doing. We in America can play the long game when it comes to this tariff game. America's resilience, reshoring, and tech dominance gives us leverage that China does not have. And so this is what it seems as though President Trump is doing. China's growth model is dependent, fragile, and peaking. and they cannot outlast this. And I think that's what Trump understands.
He does. I believe it was Australia that the Chinese government, they tried to reach out to Australia. And right now there are ships that were bringing in product that are essentially stranded offshore because they are not sure if they can bring the goods here to the States. And when they tried to offer, the Chinese government tried to offer, because we know Chinese companies are owned by their government, tried to offer it to other nations. And I'll look up which ones. I thought it was Australia. Australia that said, yeah, about that. No. So right now, we were the nation buying the cheapest goods. They're going to have to find a way to offload millions and millions of dollars of cheap goods to nations. The European nations are probably going to be like, no, we don't need your cheap goods. So what she said in that, I don't want to buy the expensive iPhones. Yeah, that shows exactly where we're at. That is the ignorance of the average American person and thinking, I don't want to pay more for this. And that's why I love Scott and saying, so you're okay with slave labor as long as you get affordable product. That is what we're exposing. And the left doesn't want to talk about that. They want to stay on their high horse.
And any other time they do. Any other time they're talking about, colonization and imperialistic and things like that. But the media loves to soft pedal this stuff. They talk about China being a strategic competitor, misunderstood partner, blah, blah, blah. Let's be real. China is not just a competitor. It's an adversary, which she was wrongly saying that they aren't. They are an adversary. It's a communist surveillance state masquerading as a market economy. The CCP's model is authoritarian capitalism, centralized control, no free speech, no free press, no elections. And they are an adversary to the United States. So you don't engage with a regime that throws Christians in jail, sterilizes the Muslim Uyghurs, and bans Winnie the Pooh memes like it's a business partner. They are an adversary. And I can't believe I can believe she would say that because she's a Marxist.
Oh, well, we should believe it, but you're right. You guys, if this, again, not an adversary until what, tomorrow? Right. What a fool to think that a nation that large who is building 2 to 3 times more ships, and I mean warships, warcraft than us, is not a potential adversary, at least potential, if not our key adversary. And what I love about Donald Trump, and what I told people, is you don't have to like his personality. It is his unpredictability that makes him the best president we could have, because other world leaders don't know what he's going to do, but they sure know when he says he's going to do it, it's already done.
Right.
And that's what keeps them on their toes. That puts fear into other world leaders. And it as well it should. And I'm not afraid and I'm not ashamed to be the strongest nation. And peace through strength is real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't believe she said that. Remember what we just went through? Was it last year, the year before last, with that Chinese balloon going all over the Midwest, near all of our military bases?
And all the lovely pictures that the Biden administration decided, let's let them do their world tour over the United States and get all of our sensitive material.
Exactly. Not only did they do that, but their state actors are behind millions of cyber attacks against institutions here, targeting everything from government systems to Fortune 500 companies. They stole OPM data, trade secrets. The whole TikTok thing, is a mass surveillance tool. The list goes on. I mean, for her to just say that, it really makes me think she's an enemy of the United States. China isn't just watching, they're stealing our data, our jobs, and our future. I can't even believe she said that. And I'm so happy they called her out. Yeah, you're right.
She's an enemy to herself. She needs to sit down, step back. She needs to read a book, go back in the history books. They have set up, and we've already exposed that the CCP, they have actual police stations set up in our own communities to police their own people. Right. And this is in California. This is here in Maryland. This is all over the United States. So they have their own system of government that is infiltrated here. And there's enough people getting paid under tables to let it happen. Right. That's outrageous. So she has no clue. And they usually don't until it's too late.
Exactly. But I'll tell you somebody who does have a clue. Surprisingly, one of President Trump's biggest opponents, one of the people who you would think I thought he had TDS, Geraldo Rivera. So anytime Geraldo Rivera is praising President Trump, you know that they see that the writing's on the wall, and President Trump is the key and the answer to the future of America. Here is Geraldo Rivera recently praising President Trump, actually calling him brilliant over the tariff moves that he has been doing. Take a look here. All right. I never thought I'd see this day.
I believe that he ambushed China. I believe that he suckered the whole world into believing that he was going to go down in this, this Harry Carey, this suicide mission.
So you think this is
against the world?
The plan all along?
I think with him, it's so much spontaneous, but I believe it evolved. I mean, Monday, so many people were feeling terrible pain.
Yeah.
The markets were tanking. There was no, end in sight. People were watching their 401ks, their IRAs disappear. The whole nation was, I think, trembling over the uncertainty of where we were going with this. He was picking a fight with the entire world. So I said Monday, well, isn't the problem China? Why are we getting everybody, UK, European Union, Japan, etc. China's the problem. I couldn't understand it. But then this morning, I tell a New York story quickly.
Yep.
I'm at the Regency Hotel with a dear old friend of mine, David Sherrill, who does the stocks. Erica and I, my wife and I, are together.
You're a broker?
You were my broker,
of course.
And we're talking about. Oh my God, this is awful, but we're doing the right thing. You have to have courage. You have to stick it out. I went to my Twitter followers. I said, please don't sell. This is on Sunday and Monday. Please don't sell unless you absolutely have to. And then look what he does. Oh, surprise. This is why Trump is triumphant. This is why you can't beat this.
Great breakfast, by the way, at the Regency.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about it? The president, you talk about going to your Twitter followers. He went to his, I don't think it was Twitter, it's probably his own platform, Truth Social, right after the market opened today. And he said, great time to buy.
What a tease. But when he said that, everything was gloom and doom.
Right, but he knew he was going to make this announcement, apparently. He said he
knew, of course he knew.
Well,
then he says, oh, by the way, I have this ace of spades. There it is.
There it is. Who would have thought Geraldo Rivera would be singing the praises of President Trump?
I watched him, and I would watch him in the past, and when he was on Fox, and he knows when he's wrong.
Right.
And he's at least at this point one that's willing to say, hey, you know what? Is what it is. He was right on this moment on this. And I think that's what's happened for a lot of business people that are even far left, but they realize I might not like him. I might not like Republicans, but he wrote the art of the deal. This is the businessman who's going to get things done. The ace of the spades. I mean, this guy's got a pocket full of aces. He knows exactly what he's doing, and spontaneous. But because he's done so well in business for so long, he knows how to play these cards, and he's doing it well on the world stage. And again, I think the people on the left hate him for it. Even if he is successful, and I believe he will be, and we will have a tremendous economy, and we'll see all these changes by the end of this year, they will still not give him credit for this.
Exactly. Well, they won't. This is the media. This is the propaganda media of the left that we have seen play out over the last, 10 years. They've done this, and particularly over the last 4 years with Biden. We've seen them lie, misinform, and do disinform and all types of stuff. And so, but some are seemingly starting to come around now. Some of the ones that have been fired, some of the ones that have, where they lost their jobs due to the lack of coverage. One of those people is Chuck Todd. So Chuck Todd, of course, you guys know, he is the former pundit on Meet the Press, has really been going around with a change of heart lately regarding President Trump and the news coverage over President Trump within the last several years. So here he is on Piers Morgan's show talking about how, or I should say, admitting that the media helped cover up Biden's mental decline. This is what we're talking about. This is what they've been doing. And I want to get your thoughts on why he's all of a sudden saying it now. But let's take a look at this and see exactly what he says. Okay.
I sit here and I'll defend a little bit of this in that I would argue the reason people were able to come to their own conclusion on Joe Biden is because of the media coverage. You know, look, we were subtle. He's using the back staircase. He's not using the front staircase. Hey, he's not doing any interview.
I want to stop it right here. Subtle? Is that what you call it?
Subtle as a Mack truck. I mean,
Right.
coming at you head on. That's real subtle, but okay,
Yeah.
sure, subtle. That's what we're going to call it.
So there was this reluctance to draw the conclusion to say, is he not doing this? And that I agree with. That was held back a lot. I would argue it was also held back a lot back in the late 80s when it was clear Ronald Reagan wasn't necessarily running everything in the White House. Whether you want to call it decorum, whatever you want to call it, look, there were plenty of members of the media. I remember David Ignatius in the Washington Post, plenty of individual people questioning whether he should run. I certainly questioned whether he should run. You didn't understand, there were some of that. But I understand the argument about the collective on that front. The only thing I can chalk it up to is this, whatever you want to call it, this fear that some members of the media had sometimes that they would be perceived as helping Trump if they somehow diminished Biden, right? That it was some sort of zero-sum game. Mm-hmm. And I think this has been the fundamental mistake that many members of the traditional press have done.
What? That is a bunch of baloney. The media didn't miss Biden's decline, or I should say his mental decline. They hid it deliberately. And he's sitting here lying about it. He knows exactly why they did what they did. They didn't do it because they thought that it may appear that they were trying to help Trump. They did it to help Biden. In 2020 and 2024, they became the PR wing of the Democrat Party.
No, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it to help Biden. So let's be clear. He said held back. I was like, wait, what do you mean held back? You didn't hold back. The media didn't hold back. They intentionally hid. They didn't hold anything back. There was a full-blown cover-up top to bottom, and it wasn't even to help Biden. It was to help whoever was running the nation, who we know wasn't Biden, because that same team got behind Kamala, and they just couldn't make it happen. They couldn't get her across a finish line to save her own life or anyone else's life. This was a deep-rooted establishment party, and it's a far-left crazy party, and I don't even want to call it Democrats. I think some of the Democrats don't even know what's happening. They're looking around. That's why they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off right now, trying to find leadership, because they all thought somebody was in charge who wasn't. They don't even know exactly who was running things. This was deliberate cover up. There was no holding back. There was no sneaking. Come on. This is a tell the truth and shame the devil. And I love that even when Satan is exposed, people try to say, oh, no, that wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the devil. No, that wasn't the devil. Come on. We know what it was. We know this was the enemy, and that's what he does. He likes to conceal, and he likes to have people not only give lies, but when they say lies, they become so accustomed to it, they believe it themselves immediately as it comes out of their mouths.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And we have to start looking at things through the spirit. Folks, these people, I mean, they lied, they suppressed, they gaslit. From Biden's brain fog, right-wing conspiracy, Hunter Biden's laptop, Russian disinformation, inflation is transitory. I mean, the list goes on. They created an alternate reality to preserve power. That is what they did. And you hit the nail on the head, Michelle. They thought they tried to do it with Kamala Harris, but they couldn't. She was just so bad. She was so rotten that it just didn't work. It didn't work.
Yeah, her and Tim Walz was just the icing on the diabolical cake that fell apart because he couldn't keep it together. They couldn't keep it together, but thank God for that. Thank God that they were so bad at what they did that they couldn't even cover that up. They were exposed from the beginning.
Right. You're right. And now you have this sort of what he's trying to say is he's, Chuck Todd's come to Jesus moment. Well, it's a little too late. He's retiring. The damage is done. Where was the honesty when it mattered? Before elections, during debates? So, the press and he and the rest of them protected Biden until it was safe to abandon him. They used him like the pawn that he was. And when they when they were done using him up, they threw him, tossed him away like a piece of toilet tissue, used. So the only time corporate media tells the truth is when it's too late for it to matter. Period.
I don't even think, KJ, you're right, but I don't think he's even had a come to Jesus moment yet, right. Because when he does, he will be bold. Because we know when we come to Jesus, like when you first accept Christ into your life, you are on fire. You're telling the truth here. You're doing this. You cannot pray for you in the streets. There is nothing that can contain what you have once that Holy Spirit comes in and you are a new creature, a new creation. And so he's still trying to cover up. He was still trying to mince words. And that's where I'm like, you know what? When they really come to it, they won't even mince words. And we've seen some that we've even played clips on the show who've said, I'm not even going to play around anymore. This is what happened. We all know it. I'm just looking for them all to come clean, come clean, and then root out the evil. We got to root it out. And it's not just those who are corrupt, because there's corruption or people making mistakes. We're talking about evil. We need to root out evil that is behind the corruption or that is corrupting others. But there is pure evil happening.
You're right. You are absolutely right. And speaking of pure evil, well, before we get into this next topic, folks, please, while you're watching, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button. It really helps to keep us here, get our content out to the masses on YouTube. We are a tiny station here right now, a tiny channel, but we want to grow. And you hitting that like button, sharing this broadcast, commenting, it really helps to get our voice out there so more people can see us. And we really appreciate you guys watching tonight. We see you guys in the chat. Also, your super chats do go a long way in helping us produce conservative content. If you're able to do that, we appreciate that as well. We see you guys in the chat sounding off. Nick J, the world has been taking advantage of us for a long time. He's fighting for the American people. Right on, Nick. He's talking about Trump. So yeah, you are so right. You are so right. Let's see here. I bitch slap Satan says right before COVID. Yep. COVID. They lied about that too. They lied about that. So we see you guys. Thank you all so much. And again, if you are able, the super chats really help us to produce more conservative content, and we appreciate the support. So as you mentioned, Michelle, talking about evil, we got to turn now. We have been talking about lately. It seems like an uptick in teachers sexually assaulting, or I should say, abusing students.
Yeah.
And we have another one here. This is out of Ohio. A married mother of 3. Her name is Emily Nutley. She was 43. She is, I should say, 43 years old. Counselor, high school counselor, admits to sexually abusing a student in her office. And guess what? She blames her husband for neglecting her. I want you guys to see this video. Folks, pray for our young people. Pray for our young people because they are under attack. Let me tell you. Let's see here. This 43-year-old nasty woman. Here we are.
State of Ohio versus Emily Nutley.
Emily Nutley went from the director of academic services at St. X High School to a convicted felon now facing prison time.
And how would you describe your work career? Long, successful.
Her 18-year career came to an end last year after she was indicted on sexual battery charges.
During her employment, and specifically on November 19th and December 8th of 2023, she engaged in sexual conduct with a student of hers. The student was a 17-year-old male.
Today, for the first time publicly, Nutley admitted to the accusations.
Did you engage in sexual conduct with a 17-year-old male on those 2 dates? Yes. Each of those are felony in the 3rd degree. How do you plead as to those 2 counts?
Investigators say Nutley had been helping the teen with schoolwork, then began having contact with him outside of school hours. They say Nutley sent the teen nude photos and sexually explicit messages, then began to have a sexual relationship with the teen, both on and off school property. Today, Judge Jennifer Branch accepted Nutley's change of plea and convicted her of the 2 felonies.
Do you agree to accept whatever penalty I impose up to the maximum allowed by law? Yes, Your Honor.
And Nutley will be sentenced June 10th. She faces anywhere from probation up to a maximum of 10 years in prison. She will also have to register as a sex offender. Reporting live in Springfield Township tonight, Karen Johnson.
Wow. Michelle, what is going on?
You know, I think that what we were saying and exposing, well, we're seeing an uptick. We're not necessarily seeing an uptick. We're seeing an uptick in women, in the female leadership doing it, because we see so many stories, case after case, where there are men abusing or assaulting these students, the young female students, but we're starting to see a huge uptick in women and females. And I think we've got to start facing reality, and that this type of predatory behavior, these demonic entities, these Jezebel spirits, it's not relegated to one gender. Women can have that same thing as men, and this is predatory, this is demonic, this is evil, it is attack of a child. And let's just say, forget the marriage thing. She's married and she has children. There are millions of men out there. She could have gone to any bar. She could have gone to any club. She could have had indiscretions. That they're online dating sites galore. She can find anybody. She specifically targeted prey. She targeted her prey. It was a child, somebody who was under her authority. And that is also disturbing. I don't know how to end this, but maximum penalties, like anything you can throw at them has got to be thrown. This is not an accident. She knew their age, because I've heard the, stories where I'm like, oh my gosh, they met on the street somewhere and they didn't even know their age. You got to ID people, but this is not, this is intentional. We have to start vetting people. We have to start checking in. We got to do better as a system.
Yes, indeed. We have a super chatter here. Kung Fu CJ, thank you so much. With the $2 super chat, says this is more than wrong. Absolutely. Folks, again, we push it. We look through this through a spiritual lens. As you said, Michelle, prayer has been removed. The Bible has been banned. Morality became relative. And what was it replaced with? Follow your heart, live your truth, don't judge. That's not education. That's moral anarchy. And now we're reaping what we've sown. Yeah. This is what it is. I have a Bible verse here, Romans 1:28. God gave them over to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. You kick God out of the classroom and the devil walks in. This is what it is. And this is starting, to me, this is a concerted effort to target our children. Because guess what? The same thing that goes on in Hollywood with these young child actors and actresses and some young singers being molested, sexually abused, and all of that type of stuff. This is trauma happening here. Yeah. Right in the classroom, and our taxpayer dollars are paying for it.
And then KJ, I want to bring this to you and to our viewers. So when I was in college, I was studying, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. And I still study ancient civilization, but I studied ancient civilization. And that's why I love Jonathan Cahn's book, Return of the Gods. You need to know this was happening hundreds or thousands of years ago now in ancient Greece, ancient Spartans. So this was a system that was there when they did not believe in our God. they would groom. It was not new. These soldiers, these male soldiers, they would take on young children and groom them not only in warfare, but in other things, sexual immorality. This was a pattern. And so God knew what he was doing when he gave the law. He knew what he was doing when he was battling this. So we know there is no new thing under the sun. This is not new. Thousands of years ago, this was a normal cultural event where the groomers were put in place, the teachers were put in place, and they would have a child student underneath them. That was normal then. We know it to be wrong, but that is why I say we have to understand this is a spiritual battle, because we have over-sexualized, hypersexualized, even in the, them, the, we've let people figure out gender. So we have opened up the floodgates to bring this same immorality back that was there thousands of years ago. So when I see this, I see that from the lens of just not just spiritual, but from a historical viewpoint. Like, this has happened before. Why are we allowing this to happen now? We can take authority over that. We can stop this. We have to be on notice. But people of prayer, people of God have to do something, and we don't. Frankly, we look the other way, just like the secular world. We highlight it, but we don't do our due diligence and pray and clean it up and do what we're called to do.
Right. Exactly. And it takes everybody. It takes all of, like you said, the prayer warriors, people, that are, but it also takes people speaking up, about it boldly. Some people, believe that we as Christians, I know the Bible talks about, be meek and slow to anger. I get all of that. But sometimes you got to get in there and you got to really push back. And I mean, push back with the hammer, because Satan doesn't need to break into our homes. He'll wait for our kids in school. And as you mentioned, they are creating an environment, with education becoming more about sexual ideology and moral ambiguity. They are creating an environment that is ripe for this type of conduct. So we got to be there. We got to be praying at home, but we also got to be showing up in person. If you're unable to homeschool, you have to keep your heel on their necks in the classrooms, reaching out to the teachers and the administrators, and also talking to the children.
Yes,
that is important. Yes,
we have to start checking those messages. I wonder how many teachers or people there notice these patterns. So I'm seeing inside the schools themselves, who's watching this? Because this is happening in the school and outside. There's just so many places where this is breaking down, and our children are victims.
Right. And then she had the nerve, this counselor had the nerve to blame her husband. And what is that? That's Adam and Eve style deflection. The wages of sin is death. And if this woman doesn't repent, she'll face earthly justice and eternal judgment. So she's already, she did acknowledge, she did, say that she did it. She pleaded guilty. So now her sentencing, I believe, is set for June. So we will continue to follow this. Accountability isn't cruelty, it's justice, and it's love for the victim, and it's fear for God. So I do hope that God's justice is served in this situation. And it was a 17-year-old boy. I just hope that he is able to recover from this. He's not affected by this. So we will continue to follow this story. But folks, this isn't it. I mean, you mentioned, Michelle, about what's going on in these schools, and one of them is there are, I don't know who hires these administrators, these principals, these teachers, but they're putting people in place that are morally bankrupt, and they're woke, and that takes us to this next school. So there's this Ohio principal tried to keep the police out of her school during a firebomb threat. Folks, this stuff, if I didn't, I would think this stuff is made up if I didn't see it.
You can't make it up. This is just, It's getting next level ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So just to give you guys some backstory here, this Ohio principal, this occurred April 7th of this year. Police body cam footage showed Natalie James, the principal of Ridgeview Middle School in Columbus, Ohio, refusing to allow law enforcement officers to enter her school to investigate a reported bomb threat. The incident, which led to the early dismissal of students at Ridgeview Middle School and Ridgeview High School in Dickinson County. According to reports from the Dickinson County Sheriff's Office, a handwritten note containing the bomb threat was discovered on the Ridgeview campus, prompting an immediate response from law enforcement. They called them out, I believe. Somebody at the school called the police. K-9 units were deployed to sweep the premises, and all students and staff were safely evacuated while the campus was secured. In this exchange that you're about to see, it's the police trying to get into the school to make sure everything is okay. But apparently this principal has given them a hard time in the past. So take a look at this. I don't know what's wrong with people. I really don't.
You, for some reason, you don't like the police, and you want to make things so difficult for us that we don't want to come to your school. Oh. And listen, I listened to you, did I not?
You did.
You are, and I don't know what in your life happened that you hate us so much that you don't want to cooperate. But the teachers union, and I've talked with them,
I'm gonna pause you because it's not going to be back and forth. I don't have any hate towards the police or anything like that. There are some who come in over to Ridgeview who are just fine, but all of this and escalatedness and so forth and so on, I do not feel safe. I don't feel comfortable. But because I'm the building principal and I heard what was going on,
safe right
then
now.
I came on.
You don't feel safe right now.
I do not.
Okay, well
So,
then why don't you go back to your office and hide in safety?
So, Mr. Howe.
So the officer, to me, at least from what I can't see his face, but his voice, he does not sound antagonistic. I mean, they're having a disagreement, but he doesn't sound, he hasn't raised his voice. His voice is very calm. Would you feel afraid at this point, Michelle?
First off, the escalation, where is it escalating to where? Like from 0 to 0.0001 to nowhere. His tone is so mild, and he may as well be like the mailman coming to say hi. So he's very professional and kind. And this is not a video game. So to this principal, you don't get to pause a police officer. You don't get to pause him like he's television, like he's a game. This is not a game, and he was coming to protect a student. She needs to be fired immediately. She is demonstrating right now. I can't even imagine how she treats students. So, or parents that come in for, conferences. I have no trust in her. And he's right. He's like, you feel threatened? He is nowhere near her. Look at the body cam. What is so threatening? Is he like 7'4"? Is this am I not seeing this guy? Is this a monstrous guy?
It doesn't make sense. But and I hate to make it racial again, but I know people like this. There are Black people that make a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to not only police, but white people in general. Everything is turned into some type of incident, drama, racial thing. They have this whole, they with BLM and the whole George Floyd and all of these and the media, they have helped to create a very adversarial climate with the police. It's very sad. It's really sad. And you have people like her, the same way they do with Trump. When Trump won, you had these people crying. They telling their kids, the kids crying. Oh, what's good? They've created some type of boogeyman scenario, and it's uncalled for. And they make it actually worse.
You know what I'm if there wasn't body cam footage, I guarantee she would have a story that made it sound like he came in there and was yelling and throwing things. Like, she's the type that would make up, and you're right, an entire false narrative, but for the body cam.
Right. Exactly. She goes on to say, take a look.
Did you provide him with the information?
I'm going to walk out and give it to you. Can I go and give you?
Yeah, just give me the top half, and that's fine. I need name, date of birth, and his contact information.
That's what we'll give you. And like I said,
And that's what we had not been provided in the past. So that's actually a benefit for us today.
Because we were the ones who called the school. We called from our ends.
Well, you haven't been willing to do that before. So now there has been some changes. There has been some changes. And you've been forced to give us some information that we've needed. You never have. This is a first for you. I'm impressed.
Can I have your badge?
It's Officer Connor, badge 1300.
Give me 1 second. We'll get the lines up.
So there you have it. Even that exchange, he wasn't raising his voice. You could tell that he was frustrated. I sensed frustration.
It's happened before. He says it.
What were you saying? I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was saying it happened before. He says it happened before. Now, I'm here in Southern Maryland. We had an incident even today, unfortunately, or yesterday, in an elementary school near me where a child brought in a weapon. Whole nother story, but a gun went off in an elementary school child's bag. And so, of course, police are there and news are there. But we had a legislator, state level senator, who argued to remove all SROs from schools, to make sure that they weren't allowed on the premises unless there was an active shooting, unless something was actually happening. This is and you're right, KJ, this is the Black Lives Matter. This is the damage that it did, is this movement to remove safety from our schools for this invisible equity issue, to say they're only going after, or they're here to attack, they're here to destroy. No, these are police officers. There was a bomb threat. And if this was an active situation, you're going to prevent the police from finding something. You're going to prevent them from protecting possibly hundreds, if not thousands of lives, depending on the size of, obviously, of the school. It is outrageous. That woman should not be trusted with your children. She should not be trusted to make decisions over an entire school and student and teacher staff body, because she does not care about your safety. She cares more about her feelings and her bad attitude. So her judgment is a 0 for me. She's got to go. But this is all over the US, and it's got to end.
It really does. And women like her create anxious children.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we have, where people are, acting weird and crazy when they're pulled over by the police. They create anxious children when any type of authority figure approaches them. That's why we have, very combative situations between children and authority figures, not just police now. And the sad part about this is she's actually teaching our children. She is an influence on hundreds of children daily. She needs to be fired. That's what she needs to be. She needs to be gone. And I really hope that, that's why we say, folks, please like and share this broadcast. Hopefully this goes far and wide. More and more people need to see how she reacted, how she engaged, and hopefully she will be removed from that post.
KJ, well, first off, to our chatter, Angie ponders. Ladies, her problem is those specially trained dogs. She has something that they picked up. So I love that chatters have me cracking up over here and trying to hide the giggle. But in all seriousness, this goes back to that culture in the school systems, even to our clip before. Who is leading? Who is in charge? If we have people like this, the enemy can run rampant. Satan can run rampant. All manner of evil can come in, because this is the leadership. Nobody's paying attention to the principal with these ideals, or the abusive teacher. This is a major issue, and we're just seeing it exposed in different ways. It's manifesting in different ways, but all an attack over our children.
Yep, you're right. You're right. Well, we will continue to follow this story. Want to switch gears and kind of move towards, I think, something that's a little more pleasant. So not sure if you all watch, I think it's I wasn't familiar with it until I saw this show. I'm sorry. So I heard about this actual exchange. It's called Farmer Wants a Wife. So I believe it's like a reality show. But what I like about it is in a world where hookup culture is paraded like a virtue, this one young lady just flipped the script on national TV and left mainstream media is stunned. So it's called Farmer Wants a Wife. She is a contestant here, and she refused to kiss the farmer on camera. Why? Because out of respect for her future husband. Take a look here.
I cannot kiss you on camera. There's a reason for that. I'm going to marry someone someday. It might be you, it might not be you, and I do not want something of me kissing another man on television.
You?
If it's you, then we don't have anything to worry about.
I certainly thought that this was going a different way. It obviously is a dating show.
Yeah. That those are my values, and that's what I believe, and I don't want that of me on the internet anywhere, because I want my husband to have more than that.
Well, I do very much respect it, and I understand it.
Do you actually?
I do.
I can give you a hug.
I'll take that.
I think romance and intimacy is something that you can't rush. It takes time. That's just a boundary that I have, and I will not be crossing it. Thanks for taking me on a date.
You're welcome.
Wow. So listen, she's not playing for clout. She's playing for covenant. This girl, I mean, modesty, honor, a long-term, thinking strategy versus reality TV's instant gratification mindset. What are your thoughts there, Michelle?
Oh, I loved it. And I mentioned it in our last podcast. I was talking about actors who don't do on-screen love scenes. I had mentioned that Kirk Cameron is one who won't kiss anyone but his wife on screen. So unless she's coming in as the body double, it's not happening. And that was in relation to that whole Usher debacle.
Right.
Yeah, this is it is great to see. It's refreshing. It doesn't happen all the time. This is public culture. Everybody's kissing everybody. Everybody's doing everything. I mean, on screen, and you're getting more views, and all these reasons. And that's one of those reasons I mentioned wanting more wholesome television or more Christian shows that can say, hey, this is not the only way that it has to be. You don't have to do all this in public. Now, she didn't say that she wasn't willing to kiss somebody that she's dating. She simply said she's not going to have it public. She's not going to have it to where it's recorded and put out there for the world to see over and over, or for her future children to see. Right. And I respect that. And I loved that he accepted it. He didn't, degrade her. He didn't do anything like that. And I knew about this show before, because when I saw that we're coming out with Farmers Look for Wives, I was like, okay, let's get some real people that have, work with their hands, people who's got rough hands and calluses. I don't want to just see all these pretty people that, they don't do anything with their hands. So it was great. It was great for me. It is bringing back godliness, modesty. Fantastic.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I felt like in a society that glorifies physicality and cheapens commitment, this girl reminded me of, that there are some things that are still sacred. And if that's really rare, and I think it feels like it's rare, but what she did based in the culture and the society that we are seeing, it's sort of revolutionary. And I hope that there are a lot more young adults or young adults like her that we just maybe not know about. I really hope that there are more women, particularly women, pushing against the culture that we are fed on movies and music, of this really sexualized, women are so sexualized now. I really hope the hookup culture is, it feels like it's so prevalent. So I really like that. And I like the fact that she wasn't, like you said, she wasn't saying she didn't believe in kissing him or anything. But it's like, let's save some things for indoors. Everything doesn't have to be for everybody to see, including the way you dress, your clothing and stuff. And believe me, I am one that loves to look sexy, and I'm into fashion and stuff like that. But now, people walking around here half naked.
Oh, and what's sad is that it's a lot of, right now, it was a lot of men doing that to women. Now we have all of these women and music artists and are doing that to us, telling us this is just, us empowering ourselves. I'm like, no, you're literally telling them to go out and be prostitutes, but that's not okay. So you're right. I love dressing sexy. I love dressing amazing, but I really like it when my husband's taking me out on a date and I get to look like that. So it's like, I respect what she's doing. I like the theme. Now, I want to say some of this is unique to our culture, American culture, which is why other nations say, I don't like Western culture. I watch a lot of K-dramas with my Korean dramas, K-dramas for short, with my daughter. She kind of got me into that, but we will binge watch like 14 episodes, and the next level is when they hold hands and we are falling out like, they held hands. I knew it. We are just falling out over the holding hands or one kiss or a hug. You'll go an entire series waiting for that moment because it's bringing back intimacy, getting to know them, relationship. And you can watch that here in the States. It's so in your face. It's instant gratification. It's microwave relationships. And then they fall apart. So this was a great clip. I love that you played it. It made me smile. It makes me happy. I hope there's more.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. And like you mentioned, with the K-drama stuff, we have been programmed to think that everything is supposed to be, tongue down the throat, and very sexual and things in movies. And so when you watch, like, not just the K-drama, but some of the older movies where, and you and I both are kind of drama, acting theater folks, the build up is so much more when you're watching it. It's not all about skin and things like that. It's the language, it's the lines, it's the story behind it. You used to get a lot more of that. The plot, the character development. Now they've thrown all of that out of the window for skin. Everything is skin. So, movies used to be so much more back in the day when we didn't have all of that. And it feels like we're just programmed to think that that's just the next thing when there is a nice build up. And when you build up to just the kiss, it's just like, wow, it makes for a better movie a lot of times.
Yeah, KJ, we also used to teach and preach abstinence. So biblically sound doctrine. We used to actually teach you wait till you're married, folks. That's not a thing anymore. Even in the churches, it's not preached as much as it used to be, which is, of all places, shocking. Considering we're Christian conservative, the churches are not preaching that. They actually are almost hands off on what promiscuity is, and so we've fallen so far away. And you're right. This was, I think, our viewer said, the fact that this isn't actors makes it even better. The fact that this is real,
right.
It's real people that made this decision. It was Angie Ponders again. It was fantastic.
Right. Not actors. Right. Yeah. I liked it too, because most of reality TV is just trash. It's just total trash, all skin, total trash, boobs and behind, all of it. So, I mean, this was nice. This was so nice. And I hope she sticks to her guns and continues down that road. So, yeah. All right. Final segment of the night. So we're kind of changing gears. We just went down, something more traditional and sort of that morally sound to this. So first, let me start off with want to get back to CNN to open up this next segment. We are such a backwards culture right now. I mean, this is insane. So not sure if you guys saw, but I think it was last night. Bernie Sanders did a town hall. It was hosted by CNN's Anderson Cooper. And take a look at this exchange with an audience member. All right.
Paul, we're back with Senator Bernie Sanders. I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They, them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
Good evening, Senator Sanders.
Let's rewind. I want to rewind it back and make sure you guys heard.
I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They, them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
Good evening, Senator Sanders. Polling and turnout data indicate that men of all racial demographics are turning away from the Democratic Party.
So, I mean, this is ridiculous. Now, usually, let's say if you go out and you dress, you maybe have on a hoodie and your hair is all covered, and somebody mistakenly calls you a guy. Hey, Mr. KJ, or hey, man, sir, whatever. You don't say it's she. You say, oh, no, I'm a woman. She can't even say that. It's they, them pronouns. What does that mean?
KJ, the reason men of all ethnic backgrounds are leaving the Democratic Party is because someone like they, them has lost their minds. She lost their collective minds. And that's clearly a she. The fact that we still have, I think even in the White House press corps, there's still fines if you misgender someone that was through the last administration. This is why they are leaving. It is confusing. It is an attack on masculinity. It is an attack on men. And so why are we shocked when somebody actually, she had the nerve to correct them. It's they, them. Wait, you said your name.
Right. It makes no sense. If anything, she should have said, I'm an it. I'm a thing. I mean, they, them, what does that mean? It's stupid. It's confusing, just like you said. And speaking of that, this takes us to this next clip. This is a boy and a girl who the girl calls herself a boy. The boy calls himself a girl. They're dating. And take a look how they introduce themselves. All right, here we go. I mean, this is total chaos.
Nonsense.
So you guys are in a relationship? Yes. And you're a boy, and you're a boy. So would you say that you're gay then?
Yes.
Okay. Were you born a female then? Yes. Okay. All right. I appreciate your time and explaining all that to me.
So the one here with the glasses on top of her hair, she's an actual biological girl. This is a biological boy, but he's going by a girl and she's going as a boy. No, actually, he's going by a boy and she's saying she's a boy. So now they're saying they're gay, but in reality, they're a heterosexual couple.
And that is the reality. And they want us to believe, like you said earlier, KJ, in an alternate reality where you can be and do just about anything. But I mean, it's beyond. And I have people in my close circle that have, children or family or friends that are all kinds of things. And they're all into this gender ideology. But frankly, it's an affront to the English language. And I'm not going to go back and change the English language, what we teach. They need to understand the definition of a pronoun, and it has nothing to do with your feelings about your gender, because we're confusing children in so many ways, on so many levels. And this is just a good old heterosexual straight couple that likes each other and they want to play the game. This is a fantasy. This is a facade, especially for them. And it's a farce at this point.
Yeah, it's God's design versus man's delusion. That's what it is. And it's chaos. You know, he's a boy, she's a girl. It's crazy. It's crazy. But we know that we've been talking about this a lot. You know, Genesis 1:27, God created them male, female. You know, God's designs is not arbitrary. It's intentional. It's beautiful. It's good. That's one thing we don't really talk about a lot. If you notice, and look at these two, and I'm not saying this to be superficial, but many times when you go to these events with these types of these people, they're ugly. It's just weird. It's ugly. And when I say ugly, I am actually not even talking about them as people. I'm just talking the whole scene is ugly. It's just out of sorts. It's clashing colors. It's deformity. It's just ugly. And you can tell that's not of God. It's just really not.
That's it, KJ. It is godlessness on display. So that is why it looks ugly. Because it's confusing. If you have any discernment, if the spirit is in you, you will react in a negative way or in a funny way. You'll know something isn't right in what I see. And I go to conventions like comic conventions, and I have adult kids, and then I have the little kids. And we love them sometimes because our favorite, stars are there from comics. But you go to those conventions and you will see this, and it is everywhere. And it's almost sad because you feel like a lot of people are there. They're longing to belong. They want to belong, and they don't realize that there is a kingdom that will accept them no matter what. Right. And what they're missing often is God. And some of them will say, well, I go to church. They're missing a relationship with Christ, because I believe that there is a person for everyone. I believe God has your one person out there, which is them. That's why they're a straight couple. They just happened to meet each other and were confused at whatever time, but that's how it's supposed to be. They need to find him, and it's missing. And we, as the body of Christ, need to find that way to get to them so that they know who we are. And we have to tell the truth. We got to stop buying into this illusion, selling it and saying it's okay. Now it's time for us to just step up and say, hey, it's not okay, but we love you. But here's how you can turn from your wicked ways, or here's Christ loves you. Build a relationship. Let me introduce you to somebody who loves you just the way you are. My church says, welcome to a place where it's okay not to be okay. We love you just the way you are. We just don't leave you there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And Angie Ponders says she will be pregnant by summer and confused how. Exactly, Angie. I mean, this is just bizarre. It's crazy. And folks, if you're tired of the chaos and hungry for the clarity, the answer isn't found in trends. It's found in truth. And that truth has a name, Jesus. So, folks, that does it for us tonight. Drop a comment if you've seen this kind of confusion in your world. Share this with someone who needs biblical clarity on identity, and subscribe for more Christian takes that don't bend to culture. This is what we're here for. This is what we're doing here. So final thoughts on tonight, Michelle, for the audience.
Oh, this is a great show. We've had some really serious, deep shows lately. And you know what? We can find good and bad in all things. So it's up to us to use discernment, to spot it, to highlight it when it's a great thing, like in tonight's show, to call it out when it's bad, and to always be in prayer, because that's what you're called to do.
Yes, indeed. And like we started at the top of the show, we don't know Justin Bieber. We don't know Hailey Bieber. We don't know them at all. But I really think we need to pray for them. We need to pray for one another, keep each of us lifted up in prayer, because there are so many warring spirits and things that we cannot see, but we know the Bible tells us that are there. And so we need to stay firmly into his word, read the word of God, and pray for one another. Keep each other lifted up in prayer. That's so important. And I'll pray for you all, and you all please pray for us. So that's it for today's episode. If you were blessed by this conversation, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We're here to stand on truth, speak life, and fight for faith and family. Until next time, folks, we will be back on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Keep your eyes on Christ, your heart rooted in truth, and your voice unshaken. God bless.